Hi there, my name is Roman. I'm a psychologist, and today I want to invite you on a journey into the most impactful and resonant social experiments and psychological paradoxes. Today I'll show you that not everything is as it seems, and not everything that seems is. Gender paradox. Did you know that women conform more closely than men to social linguistic norms that are overly prescribed, but conform less than men when they are not? For example, in a professional setting where women are expected to speak politely and use softer language, they often adhere to these norms. However, in more informal situations or creative environments where there are no specific linguistic expectations, women are more likely to express themselves freely and challenge traditional gendered language patterns. This paradox highlights the complex relationship between gender and language norms. Have you heard of the region beta paradox? It is a phenomenon that people can sometimes recover more quickly from more painful experiences than from less painful or less uncomfortable ones. For example, if someone is currently in a non-ideal romantic relationship, they will be less likely to end it to find an ideal relationship than if their current relationship was really bad, thus making their current overall situation worse. The same would be true if they were in a non-preferred job. The moral is simple. Average is worse than bad. Have you heard of the barber shop paradox? The barber states that he shaves all who do not shave themselves. Then, who shaves the barber? Any answer will contradict the barber's statement. If the barber shaves himself, then he is a man who shaves himself. Therefore, he does not shave himself, because he only shaves the ones who don't shave themselves. This is a logical error that philosophers couldn't find solution to for many years. Have you heard of Murphy's Law? There are actually 5 of them. Nothing is as easy as it looks. Everything takes longer than you think. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. If there is a possibility of several things going wrong, the one that will cause the most damage will be the one to go wrong. If there is a worse time for something to go wrong, it will happen then. Can you relate? Did you know that the placebo effect has an evil sibling? The nocebo effect is the opposite of the placebo effect. When a negative outcome occurs due to a belief that the intervention will cause harm is called the nocebo effect. The term nocebo comes from the Latin to harm. For adverse reactions to medicines, nocebo implies that patients are more likely to experience an adverse effect if they expect or are worried about the adverse effect. For instance, some studies suggest that 2/3 of COVID jab reactions might be caused by the nocebo effect. Have you heard of the Dunning-Kruger effect? This cognitive bias, published by 2 psychologists, David Dunning and Justin Kruger, it describes the tendency of individuals with low ability or expertise to overestimate their competence, and on the contrary, individuals with high ability may underestimate their competence. So, if you happen to have imposter syndrome, maybe you're just overqualified for your job? Have you heard of the meat paradox? How can individuals care about animals but also eat them? Internal dissonance can be created if people's beliefs and emotions about animal treatment do not match their eating behavior, although it may not always be subjectively perceived as a conflict. This apparent conflict associated with a near-universal dietary practice provides a useful case study for investigating the ways people may change their moral thinking to minimize discomfort associated with ethical conflicts. The dissonance that arises out of the meat paradox generates a negative interpersonal state, which then motivates an individual to find the means to alleviate it. Ironic process theory. Did you know that ironic processing is the psychological process where an individual's attempt to suppress or avoid certain thoughts renders those thoughts more persistent? Try not to think of a purple elephant. The more you try to push the thoughts away, the more it keeps coming back. In our quest to control our thoughts, we often unconsciously make them stronger. when we try hard not to think about something, it ironically becomes more present in our minds. If you ever tried meditating, you know that very well. 3 most important experiments in the history of social psychology. Have you heard of groundbreaking marshmallow experiment? The experiment involved young children who were given a simple task. They were told they could have 1 marshmallow immediately, or if they waited for a short period, they could have 2 marshmallows. The researchers then left the room, and the children were left alone with the tempting treat. Some children couldn't resist the desire to eat the marshmallow and finished it immediately. Others, however, managed to resist the temptation and waited patiently. What the experiment revealed was truly remarkable. Those children who managed to delay gratification and waited for the second marshmallow showed better outcomes 20 years later in their lives. They had better jobs, better academic performance, and greater success in life. This experiment highlights the importance of self-control and how important it is to be able to delay gratification. It teaches us that short-term sacrifices can lead to long-term rewards. Don't let cheap dopamine screw up your life. Have you heard of the broken windows theory? Imagine a neighborhood with broken windows and litter scattered everywhere. Would you expect this environment to influence the behavior of its residents? In this experiment, researchers deliberately introduced signs of disorder in a neighborhood. They broke windows, left abandoned cars, and allowed trash to accumulate. What they found was truly remarkable. The presence of visible signs of disorder led to an increase in more serious forms of crime and antisocial behavior. The theory suggests that when small signs of disorder go unaddressed, it sends a message that no one cares, and that encourages further misconduct. However, when the researchers took action and repaired the broken windows and cleaned up the area, something fascinating happened. The community's behavior began to change. The residents became more vigilant, looked out for each other, and worked together to maintain order. The broken windows theory suggests that by addressing minor signs of disorder, we can prevent the escalation of more serious crimes and foster a sense of safety and community. So whether it's your home, office, or any other area, remember the lesson of this experiment. A little mess will always lead to more mess. Probably one of the most important and controversial experiments in modern psychology, the Stanford Prison Experiment. It was conducted in 1971 by the scientist Philip Zimbardo. This experiment involved randomly assigned volunteers to either play the role of prisoners or guards. What unfolded within days was shocking. The guards, empowered by their assigned roles, exhibited increasingly authoritarian behavior. They became abusive and they dehumanized the prisoners. Conversely, the prisoners, stripped of their freedom and subjected to mistreatment, experienced heightened stress, anxiety, and distress. The experiment was meant to last for 2 weeks, but had to be abruptly stopped after only 6 days due to the extreme psychological effects it had on the participants. Zimbardo concluded that people quickly conform to social roles even when the role goes against their moral principles. Furthermore, he concluded that situational factors were largely responsible for the behavior, as none of the participants had ever demonstrated these behaviors previously. Why is it important to learn these experiments? If we ignore these important studies, we'd be ignoring crucial insights into human behavior, decision-making, and our social environment. Without this knowledge, our understanding of ourselves and others would be limited and distorted. By studying these experiments, we gain a deeper understanding of how power can corrupt, how our surroundings shape our actions, and the importance of self-control.